it's possible to think the next 45 minutes will be all about John O'Leary, what he went through, who treated him, what he learned, and maybe, if we have time, what it means for you at the very end. But I'm going to begin in a different place than I expected, so buckle up. The last time I spoke in New York, not St. Louis, which is my hometown, New York, was not to a group of senior leaders, Mercy. It was to a group of 3rd and 4th grade children. It was a group of 100% boys who were on free and reduced lunch. And 100% of them were being raised either by a grandparent or a state guardian. My job was to remind the individuals of the worthiness and the value, the dignity of their lives. You don't need to be a 3rd grader in New York to sometimes wonder about that. So that's my job. I had 90 minutes with them. Today I have 45 with you. I had 90. At the end of the presentation, I march back toward the exit, and every one of these kids either gets hugged or fist bumped as they go back to class. You can't get away. There's one exit. In this room, there's like 4. They had no option out, man. Hug or fist bump. That is the only option you have. A little man marches over to me, fist bumps me. We make contact. He pulls back his hand shocked, looks up at mine, looks at this one. Then he goes, "Whoa. Mister, what happened to your hands?" This was after I spoke for 90 minutes. So I take humble pie, life will give it to you, kneel down, and I say, "Man, how old are you?" He said, "I'm 9. So I said, "When I was your age, exactly. I got burned in a house fire. I spent 5.5 months at a place called St. John's Mercy. I lost my fingers, but I'm doing awesome today." And this little boy looks out the window, looks back at me and says, "Whoa." We had a speaker earlier today. And when he was 9 years old, he was in a house fire too. And then he goes, "You two should meet." Mercy senior leaders, I have showered with that man often. Was with him this morning at 5 a.m. I'm not that impressed by John O'Leary. And if you ask my family, neither are they. But I'm wildly impressed by ladies and gentlemen who come around a cause and a mission and an inheritance far bigger than themselves. But they also recognize the dignity and the worth of their participation in it for others. So today, I don't expect you really to remember my name. And candidly, I don't care if you do. I care deeply, though, that you remember the messages you hear from me and the other leaders coming across the stage, and realize again the value of your life, because it's easy to lose sight of that one. So now back onto the script for a moment. When you leave Mercy in 1987, and you've been through some struggles along the way, and you eventually make it home, and you look like this, your dream is not one day to become a motivational speaker. That's not my dream. Your dream is not one day to give back to the leaders who helped save your life 36 years ago. Your dream is to be ordinary, to take the weak, limited inheritance that you've received and fit in with it. That's what I wanted for my life, to disappear, fit in, fade. And I did that for a long time, through middle school, high school, into college, just trying to fit in like everybody else. And then at age 28, and this is all coming from the inheritance talk you heard a moment ago, so it's all God's work now. At age 28, I'm seated in the back row of church, and the pastor is preaching on the power of talents. And every one of you in this room has 5, and if you don't know it, you should. But he spoke first to you, and he said, if you have 5 talents, you're called to multiply. Do more with your life. Say yes to being used for good. And then he came down to the folks more in the middle who have 2 talents, and he gave the same inspirational talk to them. And then he said, and for those of you in this room who feel as if you have one, like the spotlight, boom, turns on the kid in the back row, 28. The challenge he gave was, hear these words. Your life is a profound gift. Say yes to being used for good. And then church ends, I go home, that's that. And then 2 days later, the phone rings. I answer it. I got a pair of blue jeans on. I'm working construction at the time. Can you think of a worse job for a man with no fingers? True story. I'm working construction down in Soulard that day. My phone rings. I grab my phone, flip the thing open, and I say, hello. And this little voice says, Mr. O'Leary. So I said, let me get you my dad's number. And she goes, Mr. O'Leary, he gave me yours. Would you speak at my school? I had never gone back to the burn center at Mercy. Why would I? Why would I ever want to be defined by a story that negatively defined me today? So I never told former burn patients about what happened to me. Never told family about what happened to me. Never told fraternity brothers what happened to me. Certainly never told the crew I was working construction with in Soulard what happened to me. But on that day, on the heels of a message that was God-inspired, say yes to being used for good, I answered the phone with an important response of service. Is it yes or no? I need an answer. Yes or no? This is when you all participate. Yes or no? I said yes to this little girl, flipped the phone shut, put it back in my pants, immediately regretted it. Practiced a 10-minute talk for more than 40 hours. Walked into this room, stood behind the podium, never once looked up at those little monsters. Read my 10-minute talk, stuttered my way through it, finally looked up at the end, and that's when I made eye contact with the villains in the room. Okay. A grand total of 3 third-grade Girl Scouts. That's my first audience. Was not even paid a box of Samoas for the effort. Okay, so this was indeed mission work. On the way out, one of the dads said, John, that was great. Would you speak at Rotary? I never heard of Rotary, but I knew the response of servant in life. Is it yes or no? Let's go. So I said, yes, I'll do that. One of those guys was in Kiwanis. One of those folks was a Chamber of Commerce leader. Over the last 18 years since that first yes, I've had the honor of speaking in 50 states, in 36 different countries, in front of a couple million people live, sharing a story, ultimately reminding them of the limitless potential within their lives when they say yes. When they say yes to being used for good. So as we lead forward with Mercy, I want to give you 3 choices to make each day. And the first one might be the most difficult one, but it's to choose love over fear. Choose love over fear. Looking back at your own life, have you ever done anything that you now realize was a big mistake? None of you. Okay. Steve was the only one nodding at me. The others were like beginning to nod off, like, who is this man in front of us? When I was a little kid, I grew up way down the road, man, 15 minutes that way, in Des Peres. So if you're not from this community, welcome home. Welcome home. This is my home. I grew up in Des Peres, and I saw boys in my neighborhood playing with fire and gasoline. And I figured if these boys could do it, so could I. So on a Saturday morning with my father at work and my mother out with 2 of my sisters, the house was mine. I walked into the garage. I bent over a can of gasoline, try to pour a little bit of gasoline on top of a piece of cardboard that's barely on fire. And as I bear hug this can, I wait for liquid. But Mercy, before the liquid came out, what came first? Fumes. The vapors. Very rarely do we get burned by liquid. And I'm not referring to like burn care here. Very rarely in relationships or as a nation do we get burned by what everybody's yelling about or tweeting about today. It's what they don't have the wisdom to identify or the courage to call out. It's one of the reasons why our faith is so important. Because what we may not see with our eyes, maybe we can see with our hearts and through our spirit. That day, the fumes came out of this can. This is the real picture. Created a huge explosion, picked up the child, and launched him 20 feet against the far side. When we were young, we were taught what to do when we're on fire. What are we supposed to do, class? Say it one more time like it matters. What do you actually do when you're on fire? Why are those different answers? And for the cynics in the room, and they are in this room because they're in every room, why does it matter? I don't intend to play with fire and gasoline, John. Why does any of this matter? Because we're not talking about fire. We're talking about leadership and mercy and faith. You train up here. You make plans up here. But you serve and you model mercy from a far more sacred source. It's not this. And your patients know it. And your team knows it. And your families know it. That day for me, it was all head knowledge. So when life blew up, I took off running for it. One moment, I'm happy and healthy. And I'm going to zoom in for the folks in the back. It's okay to nod. Extremely good looking. Okay. It bangs like that. That's either a laser level or a bowl. And that little white thing below his chin, what's that called? No, it's not. A freaking dickie. Yes, it is. Some of you don't know what a freaking dickie is. If you like your job as a senior leader at Mercy, don't be Googling freaking dickie during the fall meeting. It's the top portion. Your mother makes you wear it. You resent her. Okay? Some scars don't heal. Okay? But you love your life. You're one of 6, man. Your parents are together. Go to church every Sunday. IHOP afterwards. You've never been to a hospital. Why would you go? You're healthy and happy. And then life changes. And then the can blows up. And then a stranger you've never met before says, I'm going to help you into the back of an ambulance. And then you drive 92 seconds from your front door to St. John's Mercies. And your life has changed permanently. The next picture is going to be hard to look at. You may want to shut your eyes. This is hard, I promise you. I found myself on my back with burns on 100% of my body. 87% were 3rd degree. I'm in this room and I'm dying. And I remember being in that room looking up with fear, watching the bright light come down on me. And the only thought I had on day 1 in the emergency department was, oh my gosh, my dad is what? Your dad's going to kill you, boy. How many of you had a disciplinarian growing up? 13 of the 360 gathered had someone in their life. And the other 340, no, not me, man. I did it all by myself, self-made. Don't be fooled, friends. The reality is you can do very little by yourself. But with faith, with God's grace, with mercy, and with the love of others, you can change the world. That's good news. One of my change agents for good went by the name Dad. So my dad comes into the emergency room, St. John's Mercy, on January 17th, 1987, and says, "Where is my boy, John?" And I'm back there thinking, oh my gosh, the old man has come to finish me off. And the nurse does me no favor. She brings him back into the room. Should have called security, pulls back the curtain. The old man marches in. And he was very old. He was 41. Okay. It's all perspective. My dad marches in, points down, and says these words. I've never forgotten them. "John, look at me when I'm talking to you." So I look up, and then he adds, "I have never been so proud of anyone in my entire life. And my little buddy today, this morning, I'm just honored to be your dad. And then this old guy says to me, I love you. I love you. I love you. There is nothing you can do about it. And the little boy crosses his arms and shuts his eyes and thinks, oh my gosh, nobody told my dad what happened. Maybe I can get away with it. You ever been there? My dad knew. But instead of reading the headlines, which will remind you every single moment you read them how miserable your life is and the world is, my dad was a very, very, very faith-based man. Instead of watching the 10 o'clock news, which tells you what a miserable community you live in, they'll tell you that last night they did a great job of it. They'll tell you it again tonight if you give them a chance. Or you can shut your eyes and recognize the majesty of the day, not the perfection of it this side of eternity, but the beauty of it all, which will then equip you to recognize how firm the foundation is, how many reasons you have to be grateful, and then boldly, with faith and love, strive forward together. So, my friends, as we lead with mercy, we come to our first stopping point. Okay, there's going to be 3 in our time together. Shifting away from fear, leading forward with love. What are you most grateful for today? What are you grateful for? All right, let's go. Let's go to work. Let's do it. Fine. And then as we do go to work, we're going to lead forward with mercy by choosing courage over comfort. This is not a very popular choice to make, by the way, but it was modeled for me when I was a 9-year-old boy at a place called St. John's Mercy down the street. That was rooted in the mission of the sisters. It's a legacy. It's an inheritance that you've received that you now model through your lives. On the chance that this is your first day with us, I'll read it to you loud and clear. But as the Sisters of Mercy before us, we bring to life the healing ministry of Jesus through our compassionate care and our exceptional service. It continues forward with you. And there's a need for it. I needed that, certainly, but so did these people. Those are my parents, of course. They didn't have the first idea what burn care meant back in 1987. They're semi-experts on it now because of the team. And the team back then, and some of you may even know this gentleman, his name was Vachi Avaj. And if you've ever heard the name Vachi or met him, would you raise your hand? Just so we can be rooted again in our history, which continues forward in your hands. This was my burn doc. He was the kind of fella who made it about everybody else other than himself. He led forward with mercy. He would bring everybody into the room and one by one remind them of the dignity of their work. The first person in line behind Vachi Avajan was a gentleman named Lavelle. Lavelle worked in burn care, of course, but he was our janitor. Custodial services. He had a mop and an earphone set, as I remember, like a Walkman. And every day, Dr. Vachi Avajan would remind Lavelle that this little boy is alive because of his work with burn care. What's the number one killer of burn victims? Anybody know? Docs don't control it. CEOs don't control it. The most important person in the entire ministry is the least among us because they're not. Their life matters. And every day Vachi would remind Lavelle and then everybody else of the value, the dignity, the worth, the potential of their lives. Custodial staff, this is a picture of the physical therapy, PTs, OTs, speech therapists, respiratory therapists, the food technicians, of course, the frontline leaders, CNAs, and nurses. One of our nurses looked less like those 4, and unfortunately more like this one. Okay. This is where the story is going to get a little derailed for a moment. Hey? Back in 1987, you hired this person to work on the 4th floor burn center. Rather than going by his real name of Apollo Creed, he went by the stage name of Nurse Roy. He was a burn tech. Again, if we're not careful, we think, oh, one of those people, at least among us, a tech. The most important among us, it turns out. Roy, because his leader had guided him forward to recognize the value, the worth in his life, did a little bit more because of that life. He would walk into my room. Back then, they used to have patients tied down to the beds like this. my arms and my legs tied down. He would unhook my left arm, then he would unhook my left leg, then my right leg, and then right arm. And with zero muscle mass, okay, I wasn't always the hulking man you see in front of you today. It wasn't always this good. Okay, I had no muscle mass. So he would sweep me lovingly, courageously into his arms and pick me up. And then he would walk me back toward the bandage change. And on the walk back, he would whisper into my right ears. Okay? I had to lean forward. He had a very sweet voice. Here's what Roy would say. Boy, listen to me. You are going to walk again. You got that? You might as well get used to it. Move those legs. Today you walk and I'll walk with you. You doing okay? No. To which he would say, too bad. Because today you walk and I'll walk with you. First time I heard Roy say that, I hated him. Because, my friends, I've seen the body. The legs were burnt down to the bone in some areas. What I know to be true about my life is I'll never do anything again, including walk. That's just what I know. And in through my knowledge comes truth. Boy, you're going to walk again. What he's walking me back toward is not comfort. It's courage. It's going to take place in the bandage changing room. If you've ever rounded, you've seen this firsthand, and it's brutal. I'll show you two pictures. Feel free to opt into shutting your eyes for a moment or following me way over here. But I found myself in this little tub. It would take them 45 minutes to remove the bandages. And then they would do their job, the bereavement. The body's burned third degree from the neck to the toes. They would clean that little body every single day. That took an additional 45 minutes. We're now 90 in. They would raise that little fella up, set him on a side table, dry him off, remedicate, rewrap, and then sweetly pick him up and carry him back into his room. 2 hours of torture for the staff. Forget about the patients for a moment. I know they're the core thing. For a moment, how does the staff do it? Mission, faith, recognizing that their life has value, that they're a part of someone else's miracle. But rather than assuming that, I'll ask, do you believe miracles still happen? Yes or no? Yes. Do you believe you're part of other people's miracles? Yes or no? Yes. I believe last year 2.7 million patients were treated through your hands, through your prayers, through your love, through your leadership. Miracles. Here's physical photographic evidence. This is known as the greatest sales job of my entire life. Okay. Steve has met her before at Ella Crossfield. That's my wife, Elizabeth Grace. And even as a little boy going through those terrible, torturous treatments, I knew one day if I found love, where I would find her. She'd work in healthcare. I didn't know her job, skin tone, background, wealth, and to me, none of that really mattered. I knew her heart. I didn't know how beautiful she'd be, but I did know her heart. And so it should come as no surprise that this beautiful woman works not only in healthcare, but more specifically, Mercy, with this family, with this team, with this mission, in this ministry. She's also, and let's call it out, she's also a good dresser. She also wears Dickies, okay? So like, so there's that too. And the night John and Beth were married, if you go down Broadway, go about a half mile that way, you'll find a place called the Shrine of St. Joseph. Beautiful church, made of wood, stunning. We had 400 friends and families, but we also had 30 doctors, nurses, custodial staff members, PTs, OTs, speech therapists, leaders who worked the miracle. It was their work. Vachi Avajan, the surgeon that many of you know in this room, even came. The only person unable to make it was a fellow named Nurse Roy. which stinks because it would have been awesome if he was there watching as his boy walks onto the altar, starts sweating profusely. What am I doing? We meet and greet, we exchange our vows, we turn, face each other, kiss, and then we turn again. And then Mercy, we do this. What do? We walked. That's Roy's vision. You've received a gift in your life. What is your vision for it? Roy's vision was to encourage others to walk forward with it and to remind them they're not going to do it by themselves. You don't have to go on your own. I'm with you. I wish he had been part of the graduation, if you will, the celebration of life. About 10 years ago, I found myself speaking in Alabama. And on the final day of this event, they brought me back up on stage, and the gentleman in charge said, "Fella, what was the name of that nurse who did mighty things for you?" I said, "Man, I can't give you one. There's too many." He goes, yeah. The name of that very large, well-built, handsome African-American man who did mighty things for you. Anybody remember his name? So I said, his name was Roy. He said, what would he say to you? Anybody remember? Boy, you're going to walk again. And then what? I'll walk with you. Do not forget that, leaders. Anybody can say, hey, fellas, go take that hill. I'll be down here watching. Good luck on that one. I'll walk with you. I'll walk with you. You're not alone. So I said that, and the gentleman with the microphone says to me, that is not what he would say. I bet you what he would say would sound more like this. Then I hear this big old pop. And then I hear the voice of God. And it says very loudly, boy, you are walking again. I am proud to walk with you. They pull back this little black drape in a little town called Eufaula, Alabama. And they bring out Nurse Roy. They paid a private investigator 3 weeks' salary to find him. Okay? Dog the bounty hunter would have had him so much faster. They find him in a little town called Brownsville, Texas. They put him on something he'd never been on in his entire life. You ready for it? A plane. They pick him up at the airport in a Lincoln Town Car. What you need to hear in all of this is they're treating him like the royalty he is. You deserve this, man. They treat him like royalty. Then they reconnect him with an old patient. We had the time of our lives that day and also that night. They flew in my parents to surprise all of us. We had supper together, and at the very, very end of it, and then I'll put a second question up on the screen, Roy says, John, it shocks me that you did something with your life. So I don't know if you've ever heard that before from anyone. But I thanked him because here's what we know. And if you're a clinician, you know this. There are times where you release a patient and you wonder, what will become of this one? What will become of this one? When you roll a child out to a station wagon that's about to break down, and it's a hot day in the summer in 1987, and he has no fingers and he has no chance, it's reasonable to say, what will become of this one? And here it is, 20 years later, he's hugging on him. So I said, Roy, you're why I'm here, man. He says, what surprises me more than that is how beautiful your wife is. Which was not a compliment. But I thanked him anyway. And then he says, what surprises me the most is to learn after 23 years that the work mattered. And I don't know all of your lives well, but I would imagine there are days where you come home, you pull out your hair if you have any left to pull, and you think, my gosh, it's never been so hard. Does it matter? Am I enough? Is it worthy? And on behalf of 2.7 million that you serve and the one staring back at you in the mirror, it is. But it's also a choice. The question is to identify one person who inspires you to become the best version of yourself. I want you to think about one patient one person we work alongside, one friend, one pastor, one sister. Great people. The type of people who choose significance over success. So we talked about courage, we talked about love, and now we're talking about significance, and then I'll wrap up. Whew. A little boy named John got burned and brought into Mercy 36 years ago. They tied me down to the bed. My lungs had been burned. So they put a hole right here. What's that called? You got a trach. Now you can breathe, but you can't eat or drink. And your eyes are swollen shut. So you can't see. But you could dream. You could hope. You could pray. You could set goals like going home. And you could listen. And growing up in St. Louis, where I'm from, and maybe many of you are, or you are welcomed home to it now, there was basically one thing in addition to St. John's Mercy that we loved growing up. Baseball. Even when we have a last place team, we love baseball. And the way we used to watch baseball wasn't at this stadium. And it wasn't at the other stadium. And it wasn't on television or the internet. The way we used to watch baseball was with our eyes shut, and we would just listen. It's the best way to watch baseball still. The voice we listened to as kids growing up in this community was that of Jack Buck. I never met Jack Buck, but I loved him. I love Jack. I never met the guy. I'm a middle-class Midwestern kid who just loved baseball. And then I got burned on a Saturday. They bring me upstairs to the fourth floor, and on Sunday afternoon, I find myself in a strange place dying. And then the door opens up. It's the way life works, people. And then the door opens up. I hear footsteps, a chair, a cough, and one voice. And the voice says to me loud and clear, "Kid, wake up." Wake up. You are going to live. You are going to survive. Keep fighting. John O'Leary Day at the ballpark will make it all worthwhile. Kid, are you listening? So I respond. So he responds. It's a true story, man. Good. Keep fighting. The man walks out of that room and he leaves a 9-year-old patient of yours, 36 years ago, tied down and on fire for life. One fella came in one time and served me well, and it changed my life from the inside out. It's the way the work has always been done, one at a time. The wealthy on the porch that you heard about earlier would never fully understand that because they thought, oh, the property was mine and I'll do with it as I please. And yet, Catherine, one life at a time is how we change the world. One life at a time is how we'll do it. One life. Jack understood that principle too. One life at a time. One life at a time. Jack leaves the room, leans his head against the glass door, and just starts weeping, which of course we all know is the sign of great weakness. Yes? I mean, if you're crying in every team meeting, okay, y'all come up and see me. But on occasion, when you learn about a little boy who's burned and does not make it, or a diagnosis that the family was not expecting, or you hear about the brokenness that's out there in the society and you just get a glance into it at their weakest point, if that doesn't stir you, it's not because you're tough and adjusted. It's because you're not paying attention. Jack wept. It's scripturally sound. What's the shortest verse in the Bible? Jesus wept. Strong. One of the nurses, I think her name was Sue Hornoff, comes over to him, kneels down and says, "Mr. Buck, are you all right? We can't lose you." Okay. You're the only celebrity in St. Louis right now. Okay. Our football team's about to leave. You can't. And he says, "I'm not sure that little boy won't make it, Willie." And the expert looks up and says, "It's just not a chance." When this diagnosis shows up in our ministry, in our family, in our marriage, with grief, with healing, with whatever it is you're striving toward or away from, what you do next influences what happens next. What Jack does is he looks in the mirror, cries, prays, reflects, and journals on one question. What more can I do to make tomorrow better than today? And the following day, there's this little guy named John hanging out in your home, Mercy, 4th floor, dying. And then one person walks in. Kid, wake up. You are going to live. Keep fighting. John O'Leary Day at the ballpark. He leaves, and the following day he comes back. It's not a transaction. It's a relationship. It wears true, like erosion over time. Guides this little boy home. August 26, 1987, a Lincoln Town car pulls up in front of my house. I get into the back of it, and Jack Buck drives me downtown. That's me on the left, okay? He introduces me to the coaching staff, then every player, puts me back into my little wheelchair, rolls me upstairs, and we broadcast the ball game together. There's 3.5 minutes left on my time. Hang on for it. He puts a microphone in front of me, and he says, "It's John O'Leary Day at the ballpark. The Pittsburgh Pirates are in town. Kid, are you having fun?" Mercy, this is my coming out party. Like, this is when I'm going to become a big deal one day. Here it is. So this is my coming out party on the radio, KMOX, and I say back, because I'm 10, and I'm in a wheelchair, and I hate my hands, and I hate my skin tone now. And I hate my scars. I hate that people stare at me when my mother rolls me into a store. I hate that. I hate being seen as less than. But tonight, dude, I'm having the time of my life. I just don't have words yet. I don't have courage yet. But maybe one day, Jack sees a little boy with everything wrong in the world. And if you watch the news tonight, they will tell you more about that story. I'm here to inform you of the other side of it. Jack takes it home. He cries, prays, reflects, and journals on one question. What more can I do to make tomorrow better than today? The following day, there's a little boy at home in Des Peres. His mother comes in with a little gift from the mailbox, signed by a Cardinal player named Ozzie Smith. Below that ball was a note that read, "Kid, if you want a second baseball, write a thank you letter." Just one problem. What's the problem, class? Just yell it out. It's okay. You will not hurt my feelings. I have 4 kids. What's the problem? Dude, we don't even know how you're holding the clicky thing, okay? The therapist, Brenda, Linda, Julie, had been trying to get me to write at Mercy for months. What they used to say is, baby, when you learn how to write again, you get to go back to school. Now, some of you might have been like motivated by that. I wasn't. Good leadership is about reminding people, rise up to where I am, people. Be great like me. But truly extraordinary leadership, you see it modeled in Jesus Christ, is about coming down. It's about meeting people at the well with their needs, with their heart, with their goals in mind, not yours. And then together elevating. What Jack did, he met a little boy at the ground floor with the one thing, baseball. I wrote the note. 2 occupational therapists pushed my hands together. We broke through scar tissue. Sometimes you got to. We mailed off that first note. And a couple days later, we got a second baseball with the second note that read, "Kid, if you want a third." And I did. So the 2 OTs stepped in again. We mailed it off, and a couple days later, I got a 4th baseball. And then a couple days later, I got a 5th, and then a 6th, and then a 12th, and then a 19th, and then a 33rd, a 48th. 1987, one busy guy sent a little boy named John O'Leary 60 baseballs. 60. Who does that? Love. Doesn't tell a soul about it. He just serves. Teaches a little boy how to write again, which brought that little boy back to grade school. St. Clements of Rome grade school. On to 4 years of high school. For the St. Louisans of the room, DeSmet Jesuit High School. After 4 years of high school, I got to spend 9 years at St. Louis University, okay? Shockingly graduates. And then to the party comes one person, a servant, who models mercy throughout his entire life, who chose love, chose courage, and he chose significance. It is a choice. We don't have to make it. It's unpopular, actually, to make those choices. But the sisters make it. Great leadership always makes it. Jack shows up for the final time with a package and a note. Kid, this means a lot to me. Hope it means a lot to you too. And before I show you what he gave, first the question. What more can I do to make tomorrow better than today? Kid, this is the baseball that I received when I went into the Hall of Fame. It is made of crystal. It is priceless. There's only one like it in the entire world. And then he writes, don't drop it. And the final words he spoke to me, it's yours. I will never hear his voice again this side of eternity. Those are the final words I hear from Jack. It's yours. You've heard those words from the sisters. You heard those words earlier from Steve. This inheritance. What do you want to do with it? It's yours. It's yours. Jack taught a little boy to grab on and hold fast, to believe, which led to this picture. And that led over the 19 and a half years that followed to this one. But today is not about those kids or their puppy dog that is in every single picture we take. It is about you and your work and your leadership and your servant heart and your faith and your personal life. And that more is possible for you in all of it. So how do you get there? I think it's as complicated and as simple as asking one question each night. Class, what's the final question? Please yell it out. To make tomorrow better than today. If you can leave all of your presenters today with one takeaway, man, that's good. So I want to make sure you have just a moment to grab onto one takeaway from the O'Leary segment. What's one thing you heard? One thing you'll do? One way you'll be different when you go back to work or back to home? We're not after motivation. Motivation's fleeting. It's a hot shower. We're after change, transformation. I want to thank you not only for serving 2.7, I think I have the numbers right, million people last year. I want to thank you for taking care of your crew and your staff and your family and the person staring back at you in the mirror. And I want to thank you for being a miracle worker for kids like me, that maybe the rest of the world walks right past and they don't see any potential in, but you do. God bless you, and thank you again. Thank you.